Hello, my soccer universe. I was thinking long and hard on whether I should make a reaction video to the Coppa Italia final. I turned it off pretty much as soon as the final whistle went. Milan lost 1-0. Bravo Bologna, 51 years of wait over. But at first I was just disappointed. And the longer that went, the more I got angered by the whole thing because of the absolute non-performance that Milan was showing. And I was even joking when Ndoye put Bologna ahead. Yeah, we have Bologna right where we want them. 1-0 ahead, like Milan so often does. The comeback is coming. It was not coming. It was not even close. Bologna really put in the shift and deservedly won that final. And major questions have to be asked again of Milan. Now the season is a disaster. Unless they are some reason whatsoever pull out that miracle to finish in the top four. But the season is a disaster already. And all my good feelings to his coaches are also a little bit gone. I'm still feeling he should be given a little bit time to prepare. I actually think he's a capable coach. But such is Milan at the moment, and nothing that has even the slightest chance of succeeding will hang on. To be honest, I also thought that Milan lost already ahead of the final. I didn't like the jersey matchup. The one on the weekend was fine, where Bologna had the dark pants and Milan played in their home kit. Why does Milan have to wear black pants and black socks and Bologna in all white? But even more so, why is Milan not playing in all white? You're the home side. Shouldn't you have the choice of what you want to wear? Milan play finals in white. That's the first loss to me, was the kit matchup. I think Bologna's was much better looking. That's bar none, even to the point where I'm thinking, that was really nice. I should get that Coppa Italia final kit. I will not, because they beat my team. Then, second part, the Tifos ahead of the final. Bologna, great. They showed the team that won in 74 and had a nice band there and, flags and so on. Looked all great on their end. Not spectacular, but looked great. What was on Milan end? There were two sectors with flags and a whole lot of nothing. You can definitely tell that the Curva Sud is not in full support of this management. Seemingly also not in full support of the team. They even issued a statement now that at Roma, they won't be there. Yeah, that's also tells a story. So that was already the second loss. And then in the game, when you miss big chances early on, that's also usually not going your way. And then the game was played on Bologna's terms, who really dominated Milan, especially in the center of midfield. That's damning, I gotta say. Well, before I say a little bit more about what this means for Milan, what this means for the league and so on, let's just quickly review that game. After all the spectacle ahead of the final itself also started out spectacularly, and it was Rafa Leao with a great run on the left side into the box and a very dangerous pass. If anyone can get his feet on that pass, it's 1-0 Milan. However, Bologna were not to be scared of that one and created chances themselves without really troubling Mike Maignan. Also gotta be said. And then there was another big chance for Milan where Bekema heads a cross onto Skorupski, who just barely saves it, and then Jovic just needs to get this home, but he again hits Skorupski, or Skorupski is there. And that was the second big chance. And at that moment I started already thinking, it's not gonna work. What also wasn't working is the way that the game went. It got then more and more nasty and niggly. Bologna's press was working really well, starting to neutralize the Milan midfield. And the longer the game went, the less Milan was showing. And then it really descended into a rather rough chaos towards the end of the first half. When first Bekema elbows Gabbia, doesn't get anything for that. I would have liked to at least see a review on that. And then shortly thereafter, Luis Ferguson takes out Rafa Leao and is hit on the nose by the foot of Leao while he's falling down with blood coming off him. And really ugly scenes all over the place. The game seemed to be on the verge of exploding into complete fight. And referee Mariani kind of lost a little bit control of that one. So it was good that this happened towards the end of the first half. Second half started, and like in the game on Friday, it is Bologna who take the lead. A great pass by Orsolini is then poked away by Theo, but it's Ndoye there who just takes his time to slot it home in the 53rd minute. And believe it or not, even with more than 40 minutes to be played, there wasn't another chance by Milan. There was maybe a half chance by Jimenez, Santi Jimenez, who had come on, he didn't even start, but he couldn't get his feet sorted. I think all stuff like that, there was nothing dangerous coming from Milan. And this was the biggest disappointment. And in the end, Bologna kept up the press, kept up squeezing everything out of midfield. Tijani Reinders, Fofana were non-entities in the match, as was Pulisic. And you know, it was only on the sides that Milan got dangerous. And even there, it was rather tame. And then the changes that Conceição made with bringing on Walker, who had a shocker of a game. One misplaced pass after another. Santi Jimenez at least tried. Joao Felix could not really do much, and then the late substitutions. I mean, Chukwueze probably was the most dangerous. I would love to have him earlier on for Pulisic than, say, Kyle Walker. Bologna deserved to win this one. And if it wasn't Milan playing in that final, I actually could feel real joy for Bologna winning the cup after a 51-year wait. Even more so, Vincenzo Italiano finally getting over the line after losing 3 finals. He wins the 4th one. Congratulations, Bologna. That's coming from a Milan fan. So with Bologna having won the Coppa, this means they will be for sure in the Europa League, meaning that even though they sit in 7th at the moment, this is their spot. So the top 7 at this very moment are in Europe, and if Bologna stay in the top 7, this remains this way. However, Bologna fall out, yeah, they have this safety cushion. And I think Bologna in the Europa League, if they can keep the team together, I actually think can do something. I think they're a capable team. I'm just afraid that again the Lions and the Vultures will be circling around Bologna and picking them apart. Yes, at the moment, Vincenzo Italiano seems like a very attractive candidate, for instance, to take over Milan. The sporting director Sartori, former Milan player, also looks very attractive in all those ways. Orsolini, we can pick up all those. The thing is that this Bologna squad is probably not as talented as the one last year. However, they achieved more, arguably. They played spectacularly. Only when Ndoye went off ahead of the Juve game and so on, then the season kind of took a little bit of a turn, and Bologna will have a hard time making top 4 because of that. So I have to say, I personally would love to see where this Bologna team. I always want to see the team stay together. The reality is probably will not stay together, and you know, Milan might pluck a few players. Also have to mention Davide Calabria. He won the Supercoppa with Milan, then he was shipped off to Bologna, and now he won a final with Bologna against Milan. So yeah, maybe this is also karma hitting you back a little bit, and I think he will be the happier for it. Also have to look at someone like Pobega, who is also, of course, or at least used to be a Milan player, now won against his former team. One thing is for certain, with Bologna winning this final, and I said it, Milan's season is a disaster. Europe is very unlikely, and if it's Europe, it's most likely a Conference League, which honestly Milan should not be playing in the Conference League, although it might be a trophy. It might be a trophy. That's the only thing I can say, but other than that, doesn't look good on any regard. I already talked in my Serie A review video about the upcoming games, so I'm not going to mention a whole lot. I already said Roma-Milan in there. I think this matters all that much, at least for me anymore. It matters a whole lot for Roma. Definitely the Inter-Lazio game could have some implications, but it's Napoli that have to get the win at Parma if they want to become champions. But you know, you can hear a whole lot more breakdown in my Tuesday video. You know what's the biggest takeaway for me from this final? I was actually quite optimistic ahead of this final. And whenever I'm optimistic ahead of a Milan final, they typically lose. I cannot remember that I was ever optimistic. When I just look at the Champions League finals that I've seen with Milan live. I mean, the first one was the Milan-Benfica in Vienna. I barely didn't know I wanted Milan to win because all my friends were from Milan. This is basically the genesis of my Milan fandom. But I remember the 93 final, going in town and just imagining, you know, there was a book on Barca's win the year before and saying, now Milan will follow Barca. That was just non-negotiable that Milan is not gonna win this final, and then they lost against Barcelona the next year. I did not expect. I mean, I was hoping, but I thought the Barcelona's gonna romp them given how injury riddled the squad was, and then big win against Ajax. Yeah, I thought that Ajax was the better team. Then 2003, it was Juventus who had consistently beaten Milan, so didn't have high hope, maybe just slight hopes. 2005, honestly, I did not have that many hopes, but the way the game went, I got very optimistic. Yeah? You lost that one. 2007, it was a must-win, although I didn't want to say anything, and that's pretty much it. And all the Coppa Italia finals that I've seen, yeah, those were the Juventus finals. Yeah. In any case, my lesson is when I'm going optimistic, and I really thought that Milan will put in a performance. I mean, you won a game that meant everything to Bologna, and you lose a game. Yes, that meant also everything for Bologna because of the title, but it meant also a lot for you. And it tells you when you have nothing to play for, it's easy to win. If you have a lot to play for, suddenly you're on the losing side. I don't know where this Milan project is going. Honestly, I think it's a mess. I actually think there's something good there with the squad. I'm honestly against blowing it all up the way it is, but we hear already Tijani Reinders being connected to Manchester City. Yeah, I think you won't be able to make him up, and then you basically start new again. At the moment, I'm just dejected. I'm actually angry also a little bit. It's also a little bit apathy. I have finished with this Milan season a long time ago, and it's just another mirror image. Honestly, if they would have won, I would be happy, but also not elated. Now that they've lost, I mean, at least I see that they have lost deservedly so. That makes me accept the defeat. But what I cannot accept is the performance that Milan put in. That you didn't have a plan against Bologna's very aggressive press, especially in the center of midfield. That is damning, and that's probably also on the coach. So maybe change him. I don't know. I really don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. I'll talk to you soon with more things in my Serie A universe. Bye. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye.